you hear me? Can't hear you.
Hello.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, now I can hear you. Hey, I was having trouble joining. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Let me see. I got to change the view. There we go. So yeah, I'm really glad that you took the time to talk with me, Corey. If you don't really know what I'm doing, I'm literally just trying to like document and save and archive everybody's, spiritual awakening stories. I find, it's my favorite thing to talk about, and sometimes it's hard for me to find people in my everyday life in person that have these experiences, but more and more, I'm finding a lot more people who do. And so I'm just kind of like putting out my beacon, like, hey guys, talk to me about your spiritual awakening stories. And I think more and more people are going to be more and more willing to share what they're going through and will appreciate finding validation through other people's stories. So that's, what I wanted to do is just open the floor to you. Whatever you want to share, like whether you want to talk about your upbringing and what really opened you up to your spiritual awakening, or any like major key events that happened in your life that gave you validation that there's, more than what meets the eye. I'm all ears.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have to agree though. There's definitely it's hard to find people who you can talk about any of this stuff with. So anything that like what you're doing is so awesome to help people bring the awareness and like, kind of build a community. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just start from like as far back as I could consider the beginning. So for most of my school life, I was kind of like a loser. I was really anxious and like self-conscious, and like, so I couldn't talk to anybody. I could hardly even look my best friend in the eye for more than a few seconds, and that was in like 10th grade. Um, but then right around that time, toward the end of my sophomore year in high school, I started really getting into working out, and I bring up his name because somehow a lot of people know who he is. I don't know if you've heard of Elliot Hulse, but he's who got me into working out. But he also
Wait,
had a
who?
lot of other Elliot Hulse.
No, I'll write that down.
Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of a weirdo now, but he used to be really awesome. He has so many videos out there, and I guess he's always been a weirdo. But he also is really big on becoming your strongest version on all levels, not just physically, and that really opened my eyes to self-development. And from then on, it's been like my addiction is growing myself and working on myself ever since then. And so then I eventually, within the next year or so, I started getting into meditation and like just watching like philosophical, like spiritual YouTubers like Ralph Smart or people like him.
Yeah, I
So,
kind of get that from your handle. It reminded me of
yeah.
Infinite Waters. So I thought maybe you had a little inspiration from him.
Yeah, I mean, he actually was a big reason that I decided to go vegan, at least when I did. But no, that name actually is very much totally from me. I actually went
Oh,
through a
okay.
few names. I'll get to that later though.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm trying to think like where it really. Yeah, I kind of just had a slow, like gradual self development. But then right when I got to college, and I had worked my ass off so hard through school. Like I really I was in like all the honors classes, really big into math, and so I got into a really good engineering school. I spent so much effort doing that, and by my second semester, I already knew it was over. I knew I was done with this. I just couldn't do it anymore. But yeah, so right when I got to college, I could eat whatever I wanted. I had the meal plan, right? So 3 times a day, I could eat whatever I wanted. So I went vegan, cold turkey, I like to say, and it really didn't take. And I also joined this Zen club they had there with this Zen Osho. I developed a close relationship with him, and so I was meditating and eating vegan food so often, and it really didn't take more than a few months, and I started creating binaural beats and things like that. And that's when my first name before Infinite Awareness, it was Binaural Love, which was not bad.
So you
But then,
create all those beats that you
yeah,
put on your YouTube?
yeah, I make it all from scratch, pretty much. Like all the stuff I don't make from scratch, I have like a license to use, or it's commercial use, you know. But yeah, the reason I started it was because I was so dissatisfied with the quality out there. Um, and little did I know that I was starting my life purpose at that time. I started doing only a couple months into college, so I was doing all kinds of crazy work for college, and on the side I was doing this work slash passion, but it felt more like work at the time. Um, and then yeah, eventually I actually changed the name to oh the I actually didn't even remember when I changed the name. Now I know. So yeah, I kind of just was doing that for a while, and then I had my like official like big like it was a whole moment, huge day awakening on February 22nd, 2017. And what was interesting about that is that you know, like when you start waking up, you start seeing the repeating numbers and the meaningful coincidences, the synchronicities. 22 or any number of repeating twos was a huge, huge deal for me. And even when I was really little, the first online account I ever made when I was like, I don't even know, in elementary school, it was Bones 227. So little did I know 22 had been in my life for such a long time. Um, and so I had that awakening, and that's when I really realized, like, damn, like I'd be happier, you know, living in a van and traveling the world, way happier than anything I could do getting out of college. You know, I kept thinking, oh yeah, I'll become an engineer, and then I'll work this engineer job for a few years, and the whole time I'm doing this job, I'm going to be trying to build up my own business. But it's like, what's the point? I'm going to be in so much debt. It would have been such a waste of time. And I never even would have been able to start my own business if I had finished college. Um, but yeah, it was actually around that time because the reason that awakening was so big is because I realized um, that my life purpose, it was to help everyone develop their best mind, body, and soul on all levels. And I definitely
Amazing.
believe, yeah, I definitely believe we have like multiple life purposes throughout our lives, and they even can change. But I'm pretty certain that's the one that's always going to be big for me. But that's when I changed my YouTube channel name again. I changed it to Best Mind, Body, Soul, and that name I wasn't a huge fan of, but it just kind of resonated with me at the time. Um, and so after I had my awakening, I was like, okay, I definitely got to drop out of school, and that's going to be tough because I have a very like normal family, I guess you could say, at least in Western culture. So that was a big deal for me to drop out of school, but I kind of put it off as like, oh yeah, I'm just trying this out for a couple of years or a year or so, and then I'll go back if it's not working out, you know. But I knew all along I was never going to go back. And so I moved back home, and I had all kinds of terrible criticism from that, especially from my dad and his family. Yeah, so and then yeah, then I started living with my girlfriend at the time, so they thought that was part of the reason I came back. Um, but yeah, so I got
You're
back.
fighting with everyone having their projections of, you know,
Mhm.
doing the things you're doing, and just you had this driving force within you to just keep pushing through. So that's amazing that you kept listening to yourself above all else, right?
Yeah, people tell me a lot that I had a lot of courage to drop out because I even remember like deciding to drop out. Like I knew I wanted to, but I had all these conflicting thoughts in my head, like all these negative thoughts, like, oh, it's not gonna work, you know, but um I knew I had to follow my heart. At least I didn't really know it, but that's what I was doing. It wasn't until a year later where I really, really started like working on following my heart and my gut, or really just living from the neck down, listening to my body, uh, trying to do it 24/7. I really feel like today I do it 24/7 because when I don't, or when I feel like I can't, it's very, very obvious to me. Like I can feel the pain very much. And the only time that ever happens is when I'm in like a social situation where I can't be myself because I don't want to make my family uncomfortable or angry or stuff like that. So I'm very much in my own element a lot of the time. I'm definitely an introvert. I always have been. Um, but yeah, so I got back to my home after dropping out. I didn't really drop out though. I finished my second semester, but But yeah, then I kind of enjoyed myself for a little while, like did the summer, and then after that I really hit the ground running. My goal was to read like over 100 spiritual books. I got pretty close to 100 after like a year or so or more. Um, I was working on my YouTube channel every day, doing all kinds of other self development, like sun gazing and meditations of all kinds. Well, I'll get more to that later. But yeah, so then about a year later, after I had my awakening, my girlfriend of 3 years left me, and that was a huge, huge, huge deal for me because I thought we were going to be together forever, right? She was my first girlfriend. Um, and at that same time, the day she left me, I was like, all right, fuck it. I decided to cut off all ties with my dad because he has been a huge negative influence in my life. Um, I remember I was talking to my mom. She was telling me about how one of her ex-boyfriends, like his kids were so sad one weekend because they couldn't go visit him. They were so sad. And I remember it really hit me hard then. It's like, damn, I've never felt that way ever. I've always dreaded going to my dad's house. I have no memory of not dreading it. Um, but yeah, and also within a week or two after those two big things, I got kind of involved in this shady online business thing. So I was next thing I know I'm 11K in debt on top of the debt I had from college. So that was a good time. And what
Just
really
a
helped me,
cherry on top.
yeah, it was all just a lot all at once. But what really helped me get out of that, I mean, it was terrible for a while, especially just my girlfriend alone. That was like I've never been a sad person, and that changed me a lot for the better, of course, at least in the long term. But I just remember waking up like every morning and just bawling my eyes out into my pillow, and I've never been one to cry or anything like that. It was a tough time. I didn't even really start getting back on my feet. That happened like April 1st. So May, June. I didn't even start getting back on my feet until like mid-July. And I think that's around the time where I really started to get into self-love. Um, I don't know if you heard of the book. It's called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It by Kamal Ravikant. I'm not pronouncing that right. Um, it's like a 20 little page excerpt, and I send it to literally pretty much everybody I talk to online. Like if I feel like it's great, I'll send them this book, and almost no one reads it, even though it's 20 pages, which is sad. But the people who read it, like they always tell me how amazing it is. Because I've read almost 100 books. I've watched probably thousands of YouTube videos on spiritual topics, and these 20 pages are probably the most potent, hard-hitting thing I ever have found. The other thing being, I don't know if you've heard of the book series Conversations with God by
Yeah.
Neil Donald Walsh. I've read almost all 10 of those. Those alone, that's really all anyone needs if you want spiritual knowledge. And
You,
I have a few other favorites.
I think I have that book and I like never read it. So, but yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Oh my God.
that one I've definitely heard of it and it's on my radar. So I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, that was something I was very guilty of. Well, I'll get to that later about how I felt bad about not reading my books. But yeah, so that book series is really good. I don't know if you've heard of Robert Monroe. He's like kind of the person who popularized astral projection and lucid dreaming. Now he was a very respected scientist, so that's why people kind of listen to him because it just started happening to him out of nowhere. And he also was the one who kind of invented binaural beats. And there's a lot of people like that in the spiritual world, like no one really knows about somehow.
Did he have anything to do with the Monroe Institute and like
That's him. That's him.
Ultra? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but he has this 3 book series, which is just, oh my God. I've never been one to like reading. Even when I was reading all these books, I don't like reading, but it was my passion, so I had to do it.
Mhm.
But reading those 3 books, like it was like one of the most enjoyable experiences of my life. Just reading these books, they were such a journey. They're literally called spiritual journeys, is the title of the books, but they are, oh my God, they're so good. And after reading those books, I remember like I really felt like I had no fear of death whatsoever. And that's really been confirmed for me too, because I've had at least 2 or 3 dreams now um where I died and like I lovingly embraced it. One of them was I was in real life. I was on a plane with my dad in real life. um and I guess I fell asleep on the plane, but I didn't know that obviously. So in the dream, like the plane just starts going down all of a sudden, everyone's freaking out, and I just remember like lovingly embracing like a meditation to the plunge, as depressing as that might sound.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I had another dream like that where I was just like, there was like these killers around me, like 4 or 5 killers, and they were like, gonna kill me. They told me, yeah, we're gonna kill you. And I remember, okay, so before I died, I just gave them all hugs and gave them almost like loving speeches, and it was just a really compassionate moment. And then I was like, okay, it's time. So then I pulled the trigger. But
You know, now that you say that, like, I feel like with people I've talked to, nobody really has dreams like that where they die. But I've had dreams like that my whole entire life, like ever since
mm,
I was in like first grade. Um,
wow,
I've had dreams where I literally like went into a black abyss or whatever, and I like saw it coming, and I had like a sense of peace around it. It's been like a recurring thing,
mm,
and I think it was kind of like just like training you to not fear death so much. Like it's not the end. So that's cool that you've had those experiences too.
did you see like a light at the end of the tunnel? The famous.
No, so mine were a lot like darker than that. Like the
Mm,
first one was a recurring dream I used to have. It's really strange, but I'd be at the playground. This is in my dream at my school, and I'm like in first or second grade. And then all of a sudden, we see this big dinosaur come from like across the other side of the schoolyard. And it's a cartoon dinosaur, which is weird because everything else is real. And then he's coming towards us, and I just had this sense, I'm like, that dinosaur is going to eat me. Like, I know it. Sure enough, it came, and I even like climbed to the top of the jungle gym, just like, yeah, I'm here. Take me. Like, I know it's my time. It's okay. And then it picks me up and it opens its mouth and it just puts me in its mouth, and I see it this big black hole, and it just swallows me whole. And then there's just nothing. And I'm just like, okay, that wasn't so bad. And then I've had other dreams like further in my life where, and this was also kind of a recurring one, where I'm at home and I'm like throwing a party and I'm not supposed to. And I was probably like in high school or something. And all of a sudden someone's like, the cops are here, the cops are here. So they close, lock the door, turn off all the lights, and I go hide in this closet. And the funny thing is, like, I never threw a party at this house. It's my dad's house. Like, I never did that. So it's funny that I had dreams about doing that. So we're all hiding in the dark. And then someone opens the door and I hear them coming down the stairs. And I'm like, oh man, they're coming for me. Like, I know it. Like, I'm gonna I'm gonna get arrested or something. But then they get closer and they have like a gun, because I hear them like pulling not pulling the trigger, doing the loading it. I don't know, whatever that sound is. And they put the gun right to the back of my head, and I'm like crunched, in the closet. And I'm like, shoot, I think I'm gonna die right now. But I get this overwhelming sense of peace that I'm okay with it. I'm gonna be okay. And they pull the trigger and I don't feel any pain. And it's all just, complete blackness. But then I wake up. So that's how they always end, is I just wake up. But like it happens, like I'll actually get killed in the dream. So those are the two main ones I could think of.
yeah, that's super interesting. I wonder, it has to be a common thing to die in your dreams, but not in like an accepting, loving way. I've never really heard anyone else talk about that, especially at a young age for your dinosaur dream.
Mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm,
awesome.
mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, actually, I started getting into lucid dreaming even before I kind of hit my big, in my sophomore year of high school, before I hit that big self growth phase. I was getting into lucid dreaming, and I actually astral projected for my first time last year. But it's something I do almost at will. I'm not like a master at it, but I think I'm like naturally gifted and good at it, because when I want to do it, I pretty much do. Um,
That's awesome.
but yeah, so getting back to like my awakening story. So yeah, I was this. So I'm talking about in July when I started getting into self love. This is like over a year after my initial huge awakening. Um, I want to say it was that year. I'm pretty certain. Yeah, I think it was July 27th, 2018. Um, I think it's funny how I remember these two dates. I don't really have any other dates that I remember because I've had moments of awakening at least a few times throughout my life. But this was another one of the huge ones. And this one was interesting too because I kind of purposely brought it to myself. Um, I always kind of knew, at least for a while, a couple of years at least, that I wanted to have like a transition into adulthood or manhood, because I think that's something that's really missing from our society, especially for boys. Because I still felt like a kid, I wanted to feel like a man, and I still feel like a kid now. I don't think I'll ever stop feeling like, because I don't really see adults or kids. I just see people really, but it was definitely what I wanted. I wanted that moment of transitioning, and so I knew it would come one day, and I would just do it, or it would just happen. And I just got like that urge, that feeling one weekend. So I knew that next day or that day I would go and do it. So and I do psychedelics sometimes. And I smoke weed sometimes. But so that morning I got my mom's car and I drove to my favorite park like 5 minutes away. And I've never done both at once, but I took an acid tab and I did a bunch of shrooms, and then I hit a bunch of hits off this weed pen, and I did all that like right at the base of this mountain. And it was weird because I've been to this park like tons and tons of times, my favorite park, and I went to this place I've never been before around there ever, and I don't know why. Um, so I got at the base of the mountain, I did all that, and then I start sprinting up the mountain, like not even on the trail, just going up through the woods because I knew I had like a backpack and a hammock and all my stuff for the day. I knew I wanted to find a place to kind of settle down and hang out all day. And I just knew I had to get there. I remember I was getting so tired toward the top. I was just dying and I was starting to trip just a little bit. And I knew I was like, oh my God, this is not good. I need to find a place to hang out or I'm gonna have a bad trip. Um, so I finally get up toward the top and I come up on this house and there's like this Asian lady in the back with these huge like clippers, like they look like big scissors. And I was like, oh my God, I must be tripping the hardest of my life. Like this is insane. And I guess it really was someone's house, but I just turned around and walked back like super slow. I really hope she didn't see me, but and I walked just a little bit to the side of that, enough where I didn't think I'd be close enough to that area. And I found like this the most one of the most beautiful places I ever found ever, like in my life. It was super super crazy. It was such a beautiful view and the perfect place to hang out my hammock. There was this rock wall there and all these weird trees and mushrooms and then yeah, that whole day was just one of the most amazing trips I've ever had in my life. I could talk about that trip or any trip for a long time, but it's more about what happened. Um, so once the trip was like, it was getting dark. I had been there all day. It was starting to get a little bit dark, and I was like, okay, I gotta pack up. Um, and then out of nowhere, it just starts thunderstorming like crazy. And now it's like actually dark, and it's like for the last 10 minutes, I've been trying to find my way down the mountain, and I'm totally lost. So I run like up and down the mountain like a couple times now, and I have no idea where I am. And I wasn't worried. I've always kind of been, even from a young age, I've always been very passive and non-judgmental and non-worrying. Um, but one of the things I only ever worry about is, will my mom be worried about me? That's like one of my main worries in life. So that was like my main worry there, because I would have been fine, literally just finding a little dry area and laying down and sleeping there for the night or just for a while. I would not have cared whatsoever. But I was super worried about her worrying. So I don't know how, but eventually I got out from one side of the mountain and it was nowhere near where the park was. And it was like drenching, pouring rain. And I see like these workers in this like place and I like yell across the street to them, like, where's Time War Park? And like, they didn't even understand me at first. They pointed left and they're like, oh no, go right. And I was like, okay. So then I'm running down the road for like a while, like at least 30 minutes. And I finally get back to my car. And then I get home and I just am like, I couldn't even deal with life. I just had to hang out, and I was still tripping for like all night too. It was so crazy. Yeah, that's that story.
Something you'll never forget, that it'll just always stick with you.
Yeah, it was definitely and I really got that feeling of like, damn, like I feel like I'm more grown now, I guess, or something. I don't know. But yeah, so that happened, and I'm trying to think. So yeah, then the next year wasn't really all that noteworthy. Um and at the end of that next year, I went and worked for my uncle for a little while, driving his son around like to this special school. Um yeah, I don't think I missed anything. And then COVID hit. So I came home a few months after that, and yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So yeah, then I came home after COVID hit, and that is when I really, really started to kind of organize my life because I have a ton of. I'm like writing like 3 or 4 books at once right now, or I'm trying to. It's like a more of a long term goal, though. I'm realizing. So I kind of organized. I have like 500 notes in my phone of all these categories and folders and all kinds of things online I have saved. I just was organizing all that, and for a long time, I had a lot of like I didn't really know what to do about these books because I had already read like probably like 80ish, and I had like 100 more, and I had literally just spent like $300 on all the rest that I wanted to read, and I hadn't read them. I wasn't reading them for like a year, year and a half. And I forgot to mention actually right when I first got home after college and I was getting into this stuff, I started an Instagram account and a Twitter account. And the Instagram account is the one I have now, but I used to post pictures of books, like pages from books, and I had like well over 1,000 posts. Um, and they were great at the time. They resonated with me. And the Twitter account I eventually deleted, but that one had a bunch of quotes on it and thousands of followers too. I wish I didn't delete it. Um, but so my Instagram account, I kind of wasn't posting on it for a while because I just didn't feel good about it anymore. Um, and I had all these books I knew I had to read, and it was such a struggle for me to kind of get to this point. It took like a year and a half to really fully do it and realize what I had to do. And I just literally got rid of the books. I have them in a box actually. I'm actually gonna burn them all because I called like 100 libraries and no one wants them. So I'm gonna like ceremoniously burn them. I think maybe read a few pages out of them before I burn them because I know I'm not going to read them anymore. But coming to that realization was a huge deal because I've read a lot about in like spiritual books how like the monk is in the boat and he drops his life's worth of work of note taking from these saints, and that's when he realized like the knowledge was useless, right? But yeah, then I deleted all my Instagram posts in favor of the quotes because I really want people to go within and ask themselves
Wow.
questions. That's what really works for me. I don't want people to just read a page of a book from Alan Watts and be like, "Oh yeah, that's correct. That's the right thing. That's a good belief for that's truth." I really think the quotes, like a single line or two, it really makes you think for yourself. Um,
Yeah, and that probably is a big reason why you really love that book, the Love Yourself book, is because of how like concise, short and sweet it is, and like straight to the point, like no fluffy stuff, no like, idolizing anybody. Like it's really just about looking within.
yeah, it's such a it's a real thing when I feel like the less you say, the better. Silence is often the most powerful response to something. The patience,
Mhm.
the simplicity is often what's most complex.
But it's totally natural, like especially for, spiritual awakening folks, they're looking anywhere. Like I have binged so much content. I didn't really read so much,
Mhm.
but like YouTube every day, like I had to get my dose from my gurus, of spiritual content. And I think that's just part of the process is you got to just dive in and get your fix, but you ultimately come to the realization that it's all within and you have to start generating the energy within you and start applying, all the stuff that you've taken in, and you have to start using it physically, like in your life. And, like try to cut back on all the gurus. Like you can be your own guru. It's kind of like what I'm trying to do, trying not to rely on other people to connect me to my own spirit, you know?
Yeah, I like to look at stuff like that, like, because a big part of that realization I had when I got rid of all my books was I was like, okay, external information is great for inspiration, but you can get that inspiration from within, but it's just kind of like a crutch. It's like, oh yeah, that flower inspires me, or that quote inspires me, but it's something I couldn't have come up with on my own. Especially more recently, the more kind of evolved that I feel, I really, really am embracing, like, wow, I can any answer I need is within me. If I want an answer, I can just write in my notes to myself, like, and ask questions to myself
Mhm.
in my notes and answer them. And it's just such a powerful thing to talk to yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, I hear you. I feel that a lot more. Like I'm trusting myself to get the answers myself. Just crazy things like in the last couple weeks, I'll ask a question or I'll, just be curious about something and it's immediately answered in my world in some way, like really, really quickly. So I've just like
Mhm.
realized how in tune I am with everything around me. As long as you're open to the answers, like you'll get them. Even if it's not right away, you'll get them if you're asking.
Yeah, for sure. I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, it definitely feels a lot like work sometimes when you're kind of digesting all this spiritual content, like you say, doing it every day. It definitely can be like it drains you just because it's work, but also because it's like when you kind of remove that ignorance, especially about like a lot of the bad stuff out there, like just, there's all kinds of bad stuff, and when you're into this self growth, it's like damn, you kind of have to take a break sometimes. And I like to be ignorant to a fault. It's like when I feel like I'm too ignorant, I'll go and learn more, but I'm okay with being a little ignorant about things. But I always tell people the hardest part about finding your life purpose is actually the act of finding it. You have to put that effort into to research and experiment and try new things. And then once you do that, once you put in the effort, it's like the work. It takes so much work. But once you find it, then it's like life is just so much easier from then on. It's like, okay, now I know my life purpose. I can act on it every day and let it grow, and then you'll find even more passions. And
Mhm.
now my biggest problem today is that I have too many passions. I have to like figure out which ones to pursue and how. It's just so crazy.
I feel you. I really do. Um, yeah, like not to talk about myself, but I just, can relate so much. I spend a good chunk of my time not acting on anything at all and just embracing all the things that excite you is going to help you out. Like right now, I don't know what my purpose is, but I'm just like enjoying the ride and I'm actually doing all the things that I find joy in. Like I'm learning guitar, I'm learning piano, I'm doing more painting, I'm doing more drawing, I'm making music, I'm, you know, talking to you about spirituality. And I think like it's really important to not get hung up on what your passion, what your purpose is, but it's just important to start doing stuff and like you'll figure it out. Like some things are going to be stronger than others, but it's so important to just put the action towards it. So I'm just giving myself a pat on
Mhm.
the back for just, going after and just doing all the things that I want. But I feel you. Like there's so many things. There's so many things that are exciting, like to have curiosity for, have passion for. Like how could you just narrow it down? Like I don't want to.
Mhm. Yeah, I have to say, I think a lot of people might not have a really, they might not have a real life purpose. They might just find out later, and that's when they're meant to find out, or they might never find out.
Mhm.
Um, but the big key I think you're hitting on is really just living from the heart. I mean, I say it so much to everyone I talk to, and I'll say it over and over again in different ways. But I really believe like living from the heart and the gut, doing what feels right is so much different than doing what you think is right. I remember sitting at my desk at college, and every fiber of my being was just in pain and agony, and just it felt so wrong. But just because I had a few thoughts in my head telling me that I have to do X, Y, and Z, or this is good and this is bad, that was completely controlling my life. I was living from the mind. And when you live from the heart, or even if you, it's not like you could do it 24/7, at least at first, it's like you go in and out from the mind to the heart, from the mind to the heart. But you can really feel like, oh yeah, you said you were learning guitar, like that probably is something that feels right. There might not be a mental reason why you want to do something. Your mind might not even agree with what feels best, but you just have to ignore it. Um, like when I say a lot, when you're thinking too much, or whenever you're feeling bad about anything, it's because you're thinking too much. You're living from the mind. That is what causes you to suffer.
Hmm. I think another thing that's like tripped me up, but I've kind of learned is that like your heart can change and it's okay. So it's like I'm all about following your heart, and like there's decisions that I've made in my life where I knew like I was following my heart. But then when my heart changes, it's like, but wait. And then my mind gets all confused, and it's like it's okay. Like your heart can change. Like just keep on following your heart. Like it's all good. So, yeah, I just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah,
Heart could change, take you on a whole kind of course you had no idea about.
yeah, I definitely believe the only constant is change.
Mhm.
Um, oh yeah, I wanted to get into my beliefs too, because that kind of revolves around my new name, Infinite Awareness. But before that, what you're saying, because the heart does change. Like I just a really simple example. Even just like 2 years ago, I had all these clothes, and I got rid of a bunch of them because they just didn't feel right for me to wear. Not because I thought they were bad looking, but they just didn't feel right. And I've done that 2 or 3 or 4 more times since then, and I've added more and thrown more away. And it sounds like such a simple, maybe not even relevant example, but it's that applying your heart to everything in your life, like not just your wardrobe or not just your hobbies or your passions, but everything in life. You can decide from the heart, like, okay, should I don't know, yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, something I say a lot, the only thing that I really really believe in, or the only thing I'm attached to, only belief I'm attached to, is the fact that infinity exists. And that's actually the topic of the book that I really want to write, which I probably won't. I'll probably write more books of like fiction with a lot of spiritual ideas in them, because people just don't really like to read spiritual books. I feel like I'll reach a lot more people and have more fun writing it if I write a real story with real characters. And if infinity exists, then that has massive implications. It defines what is illusionary and what isn't. And it's just such a state of being it produces. It's like almost like believing in God. It's kind of the same energy. If God is infinite, infinity exists. It's kind of the same idea. But something else I'm pretty attached to, like just pretty much just as attached to as the infinity belief, is your beliefs create your reality. Because if you believe that your beliefs do not create your reality, then that's exactly what you experience. And it's like kind of impossible to argue with that statement. But the fact is, like, just because something makes sense doesn't mean it's true. It's like if you were to talk to a fox about the origin of the universe, you probably wouldn't believe what they're saying because it's a fox. Like,
I like that. It's like so expansive, but so like brief and to the point and like non-negotiable at the same time. It's good.
yeah, I have a lot of beliefs, but I say I'm not attached to them because I'm very aware that all of them could be false. So I feel like we're living in a very illusionary world. It's like, um, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I hope you write write that book?
Oh, it's definitely gonna be at least 1 or 2 books.
Yeah.
It's like I have so much on my plate, and I don't really feel like I'm ready to write it yet. You know, like I'll write little pieces of it sometimes, um, but I think it's really gonna be something that takes a while. Uh, I don't know, but yeah, I have way too many passions. So I have my YouTube channel. I just started making um, digital pixel art. Um, I can't even think of the passions I have. There's just too many.
So with your YouTube channel, is it all strictly binaural beats?
Well, it's brainwave entrainment, which is I just say binaural beats because no one knows what I mean when I say anything else. But there's 3 types that exist, and they're binaural beats, monaural beats, and isochronic tones. And they all do the same thing really, but they definitely feel different and sound different and affect people differently. So I always tell people you have to figure out which ones you like the most, and it's not even just the types, but there's also the frequencies because every single one of those 3 has 2 frequencies in it that you can choose to use. Um, so it's really complicated, but it's also not at the same time. Um, like I just if it feels good, then
Like,
using.
is it like scientific healing
Oh yeah,
through sound?
yeah. If you research it at all, it's definitely like scientifically sound. If that matters to you, you know. But I always say, you know, if something feels good or resonates with you, then do it. Because I remember like coming back from my classes in college and just putting on a binaural beat for an hour and taking a nap and then going to other classes. And I remember just waking up from those naps just feeling really, really physically like good. And I know it was because of the binaural beats, you know.
Yeah, and then you've got different beats that target different areas. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's very you know, like the brain waves like alpha, theta, beta, and all those. You target one of like there's just different numbers that fall in those ranges. So you could choose a number, and those numbers might be associated with something. And then you choose a higher number. Like um, it's kind of hard to explain, but I definitely would attribute it to like the part of the reason I woke up was because I started to make these binaural beats, and of course the meditation was a big reason why I woke up. But I really think that going vegan was a huge part of the reason I woke up. I always tell people just try it for a month and see how you feel, and even if you don't stick with it, it will change the way you think about the food you put in your body. You'll change your diet in some way. Maybe you won't stay a vegan, but it'll change you in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, for a long time now, I've been a raw alkaline vegan, and I only eat 1 meal a day. Oh, and 2 other crazy things about me. I did a 48-hour straight meditation with no food or water. That was cool. And then actually recently I did a 20-day fast. Um, just like drinking liquids, like water or some tea. And that was even before doing it, during it, and well after doing it, it changed me so much. I can't recommend it enough. And I think I don't know if you know Dr. Sebi.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually where I get my diet from now. All the food on there is what I eat. But he recommends fasting for 12 days a year. So I definitely think I'm gonna do that every year probably. It was so amazing.
So you did it for 20 days?
I wanted to go longer, but because like the one that's the famous number is like 21 days, but I just did 20 days because that's like my number or anything with twos, and also I'm living with my mom still, so she was really freaked out by it the whole time. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I do eat animal products, but I've always struggled with it, like since a young age. And I've always told, my like my fiance and close family, like I'm gonna be a vegan one day, like I'm gonna be a vegetarian because like I can't handle meat. It'll gross me out, but more so it's just like trying to cleanse our body. Like I'm really listening to my body more about what I eat. And I haven't done a fast, but I can see the value just for like cleansing purposes. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but I definitely think there's something to not eating meat and having more appreciation for all your food that you get and being more grateful for it and being more conscious about where it comes from. I think that that's a big movement right now. So it's a good thing.
Oh yeah, even when I just started it in 2017, like it was still like a not like not accepted thing. But even just in the last couple of years, I've noticed it's very very much becoming so accepted around the world.
Mhm.
And what you said there about like kind of wanting to try and stuff like that, like a lot of people I talk to, usually they're at least open-minded or sort of awoken. But even a lot of the people who are asleep, if they know, if I bring up I'm a vegan, they'll be like, oh yeah, I want to get back into that, or I've always wanted to try that. And I never make anyone feel bad about it. I mean, if something is not right for you, then don't do it. You gotta do what feels good. But it's just interesting because it seems like people are very interested.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest reason to try it is strictly because I don't feel good about the industry of eating meat, but I'm not against eating meat. I just don't feel it's just hard to come by food, that was treated well during its life. So like that would be like my biggest reason for and is my biggest reason for eating less and less meat. But I just like I see everything as life force energy. Plants are, animals are. So it's like whatever is best for my body is what I'll try to do. And if my body is like craving chicken, like I'll eat chicken, Sorry.
No, I don't care at all. Actually, it's funny. The reason, well, before I get into that, actually, when I did my 48-hour fast, that was a big moment for me when I realized that there's a big difference between being hungry and, like, I guess you could call it cravings, or what I said was feel like my taste buds just wanted food, and I definitely,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm actually hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just like a drug. Eating food, it can very much be a big addiction.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, but it's funny because actually the reason I went vegan was purely for the so-called consciousness enhancing benefits, and it was never about any other reason really. I mean, I've always been into healthy eating, so I could say that. But what's kind of funny about it is it actually it transitioned into, okay, why am I still a vegan? It became all about the animals once I was a vegan. For a long time I didn't care about anything else except the animals. Once I was vegan, it was really weird for me. um yeah, I was going to change the subject unless you want to talk about it more.
No, change the subject, please.
Yeah, so it's probably like a year and a half ago. I've always been very conscious of my energy, and I'm a big believer in that. You're just as responsible for the energy you surround yourself with as you are for the energy you put out, and that applies to your physical environment, but also the people in your life. And I'm already pretty introverted as it is. Like it's funny. My friends all know, we talk about it. Like I don't initiate. I do not hit people up to hang out or to even just talk. It's very rare that I'll do that. I do it, but it's very rare. All of my best friends, my two best friends, my two only real friends really. Like they know, like if they want to talk to me, they have to initiate. That's just the way. But I don't even really like talking um to people that I like. Like I'm not a very talkative person. I like to be alone. So it's like I realized, like, I don't even like talking to people I love. Why am I talking to all these people that I don't even like at all? Or so I kind of, because I cut my dad out of my life, and that's definitely something I still struggle with. I might return to him one day. Um, but then like a whole year or two later, I cut out the rest of his side of the family. Um, and it was the first time I said anything to him. I sent them all an email. It was the first time I said anything to him in like 2 years. And no one even responded to the email except my uncle. He sent like this nasty reply. But then I sent that same email, just a little bit different, edited, to tons of people in my life, like lots of people I met online or old friends, or all these people who are still trying to talk to me all the time. And I'm something I struggle with a lot is I try to please everybody. I'm always trying to give everybody like happiness and laughter and love. And I kind of am more selective now with that. So I cut out so many people, and most people just didn't even respond, which was, well, that was the ideal scenario, I guess. Um, or someone gave me like a pretty neutral kind of loving answer, but then my two other friends that I have, they were the only ones that gave me, they're twins. He was the only one who gave me a loving response, and I still like cut them out, even though they gave me this beautiful loving response. And then they started hitting me up more and more, even though I told them I didn't want to talk anymore. And now they are the reason that we're friends now, or that we're still friends. It's because they put in the effort to be my friend, and I'm always the one putting in the effort, I feel like. So now I have this different relationship with other people and myself, where it's like, if you're not trying to knock down my door and break my door down to get into my life, then you're not worth having in my life. If we don't have some type of deep connection, then you're just not worth having in my life. It's I keep talking about it, but it's just it was such a big transition for me. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
That's amazing. I think that's really hard to do.
It is extremely hard, yeah.
Lay down the line, especially with people that, you know, you love or, you know, care about, but it's putting yourself first, which everyone should do. So I'm glad that you could do that. And I'm glad that they proved how bad they wanted to keep you. They didn't let you go.
Yeah, that was something my girlfriend said when she left me, because we had like probably 3 fights for a whole relationship. Like we were such a good couple, you know. That's probably how I am with everyone. But like there wasn't really a reason we broke up. Like she kind of just like, oh yeah, it's not for me anymore. She even said this is the hardest thing I ever had to do. And you have to really put your happiness first in life. People always think it sounds so selfish to you know, you can't love others unless you love yourself first. Where you have to put your own happiness first. And I understand why I think it's selfish. You know, it's definitely but there's just so many arguments you can make against it. Like it's like, why do you like helping people? Because it makes you feel good. It's ultimately, everything is ultimately selfish. It's a little interesting.
Yeah, that's true. It's a really hard because I'm the same way. I've always been a people pleaser, so it's really hard to just become a selfish person. But it's like it's so important to become more selfish and stop giving more than you receive, and you know, to make that known, and you know, cut out all the people that are draining you. It's just vital for your own health.
Yeah, something I tell people sometimes. My one of my best friends, he killed himself probably a year ago. I don't know, but that was kind of a big deal for me. And obviously all the people in his life too. And it was weird because he was a good guy and he had a girlfriend. Like from the outside, it looked like he had such a great, full, happy life, and he was such a cool guy. Like, and he really was special. Like I'm not just saying that because he killed himself. Like he was a special guy. Like his death left a big impact on people for a reason. But something I tell people a lot is that you know, the only reason you're here right now living this life is because you want to be here. And every second, every moment is a decision. Every moment you are deciding who you are and who you want to be. Every moment we are deciding. And if you wanted to kill yourself right now, you could, but you don't want to for those reasons. You know, you have to put your happiness first. You really have to, if there's something in your life causing you pain, you need to, you know, you have to put your happiness first. What it looks like on the outside, whether it's cutting someone out of your life that you love, or whether it's something simple, you have to put your happiness first. You know? People judge themselves so hard, you know, in all kinds of ways, very negatively, but even just simple judgments like, I spent like a week of my life just scrolling through art online and getting inspired and downloading them and adding them to like this folder of this art collection I have. And to a lot of people, it would look like a huge waste of time. And even while I was doing it, I was like, oh man, this is taking up a lot of my time. But it felt good to do it. You know, I don't judge myself. You know, and I tell people a lot. I actually every single time someone says sorry to me, I'll be like, you don't have to say sorry to me. I don't judge myself, which means for me to be offended by anything in life, I have to judge myself as being offended. So I always tell people, you don't have to worry. Nothing will offend me. You know, because I like to. There's this quote by Ram Dass or something. He says, he likes to treat everyone like a flower. You know, not pushing or pulling that you should be any different in any way that you already are. You know, we're all perfect just the way we are. And that's actually a philosophy I've kind of applied to my life for a long time. It's the complete acceptance, not just other people, everything in life. You know, like if I was to go to jail, I would accept the circumstances. You know, I wouldn't make myself suffer with all these negative thoughts. I would just accept it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, it really is. It really is the key to happiness, right? Is acceptance for what is. And like you said, every day that we're here, every breath that we take, it's a choice that we're making. So we really should just make the most of it, and we really should follow our heart and what brings us happiness in every moment. We have the choice to do that, and we should take advantage of it.
Yeah, a big when you know, like people, when you say someone's asleep, you know, they're not open-minded, they don't follow their heart, they're not accepting, they're very judgmental. These are signs of someone who's just not even awoke at all. And once you kind of awaken, you go through upgrading those things. And the victim mentality is very, very much I think the main thing behind people who are unhappy or just unawoken. They just think life is happening to them. They're very much reacting.
You have to take accountability for your life in every aspect.
So easy to feel like a victim. You know, you drop your phone and the screen cracks. It's like it doesn't really feel like that's your fault, or it's just like it's kind of a bad example. But it's just so prevalent. It's sad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything else you wanted to share? Otherwise, I have a couple questions.
Yeah, you can ask me anything anytime. I don't know if you talk about. I would love to hear about your spiritual journey, but if you already have that up on your page, or you know, don't feel free to not share. I could always look at it later. But anything you want to share, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I'll give you like a really short, quick version of it. But basically, ever since I was a little kid, I was questioning stuff. And then it was my dad who really opened me up to, I was questioning what they were teaching me in school. I went to a religious, like private school. And, you know, we were memorizing verses of the Bible, and some of the stuff just didn't make sense to me. Like logically, I was trying to scientifically understand how this could all be truth. But my dad kind of said, well, it could be interpreted like this, or it could, you know, God could have been an alien that, you know, manipulated an ape. And I'm like, wow. So it just opened me up to I can think for myself. I can interpret the world how I choose. And I don't have to just agree with whatever someone teaches me or tells me is truth. Like ultimately I can decide that. So then I always kind of stuck to my own beliefs and trusted myself, and always was questioning and curious and trying to find like bigger purpose or bigger meaning for everything. But it really hit me in 2016 where I just one day literally out of the blue, and like before this happened, I like had a vague idea of what the pineal gland was, and like I had an idea about what aliens were, and I kind of thought, okay, they're probably visiting the earth. Like that makes logical sense, like just mathematically. And there's been sightings, and I'd had experiences with like, you know, ghosts and stuff like in old houses that I used to live in, things that just couldn't be explained by what we had to offer. So I was always open to like different dimensions and stuff. Um, and like afterlife type stuff. Like I believed there was something to all that. And anyways, so one night, the middle of the night in 2016, I woke up and I saw a bunch of interdimensional beings around my bed. And I was just terrified. But ever since that day, I've just had this fully blown clairvoyant ability since that day, every single day. And I've just practiced and learned, so much more about it, and, how to harness my own energy, how to make myself not fearful, how to make sure I'm not tuning into anything that's like negative, or if I do, I know how to change the frequency myself, and bring in more light and more positive stuff, connect with better things for me. Like I've figured out a couple of my spirit guides. So, and I've just been so much more in tune with the whole world, and it's just been like a fun game. Like I really feel like I'm playing, my own video game, and I like to see how it manifests physically in the world. Like I just get amazed all the time at the types of things that happen for me, just because I put it out there and ask questions. And that's been my journey. It's been this full blown having this ability to see other dimensions, like since this one time in 2016.
Wow. Yeah, I would love to hear more about that clairvoyance. Like, what is that? What does that do for you?
What do you mean? What does it do for me?
Like, like people say they're clairvoyant. They like see spirits, or they see auras or energies, or
Yeah, so I think for everybody it's different.
Mhm.
Um, and everybody taps into something different. So there's some people, you can go to a psychic, let's say, and maybe they'll tell you the future. Now, I don't really subscribe to any of that stuff, because like I said, we're all playing our own games, and our futures can change, and we can take any path, and we can change our path whenever we choose. But some people, they might have the ability to see like the most promising future timeline based off the decisions that you're making now. Other people, they might have the ability to see, people who have passed on, and like they're your family members, and they can immediately tap into those types of, people. Other people can see like literally interdimensional beings, like they're life forms, but they're not physical, like they're not in our 3D realm. They're like vibrating at a higher frequency.
Mhm.
So like you could call them extraterrestrial, interdimensional beings. Maybe they originate from a different planet. And then there's people who tune in and say they see angels. People say they can see demons. People can, say they see auras. They can see, all kinds of stuff. And for me, it's literally all of the above. Like I literally see all of the above. But it's not like on a day to day, not when I'm walking around. Like when I'm in my life, I'm in my 3D life. But when I meditate, that's when I can tap into
Mm.
to all that. So it's
That's really cool.
for me, it's because there's so much. Because I feel like when I'm tapped in like that, these other energies and entities and beings that are also conscious can, like, they can tell that I can perceive of them. So they kind of all come flocking. So it's like it's up to me to set the foundation of what do I want to tune into at that time. And like that's what I'll focus on. But that's been my biggest, you know, hurdle right now, is I'm just trying to get a hold on everything. I'm getting pretty, good at it, but trying to understand the messages, or if someone approaches me like a someone who's passed on, like, okay, why are you talking to me? Like, how can I help you? Maybe help people cross over to the light. Even if I don't really know what the light is, just knowing like that they're struggling, or they're really trying to get my attention for something, or do they have a message for me? Then I try, listen to myself. What are they saying? Because I can't hear them speaking.
Hmm.
Sometimes I'll get a little like, hey, or something, but it's really all just visual. And I'm just trying to practice seeing everything a little more clearly. But yeah, that's how it's been for me. It's just been this undeniable, because I'd always been questioning my whole life. What is there more? Like, am I just like an ant on a rock flying through space, and when I die, like that's it? Even though I'd had plenty experiences leading up to this, I still was questioning if there really was more. So that was just like confirmation to me that when I die, I'm not just going to be done. Like I will continue. I have a soul, I have a spirit. And like anything is possible. Like I should really just take advantage of this interesting experience of being a physical being. And I can paint, and I can make music, I can listen to stuff, I can eat food. Like I should just enjoy this while I can, because it's not going to last forever. And who knows, I don't know what my next journey is going to be. So I just need to be in the moment. I need to be more present. I need to be more conscious. I need to just be more grateful for everything in my life. And that's been my journey since 2016. But it all started out with total fear. I was just totally scared every single night. And it just took a long time to build up my own personal like strength of handling this ability, which I believe we all have. Maybe not to the extent of tapping into everything, but I think if everybody, especially using your beats, like they can tap in, they can open their pineal gland or whatever you want to call it, your sixth sense. Like I feel like we all have it. But if you don't know you have it, and then it's like a muscle, it's like an instrument that you can practice, like you're not going to try. You're just going to keep living your life and saying, who knows? No one actually knows if there's an afterlife. Like if you're not open to it, you're not going to know. You just have to be really open, and you have to want to know. And then I think it'll help you get there. And I also think fasting helps get there. I think the vegan diet helps get there. Like eating meat is like a blocker, because you're taking on the energy of the animal, and you gotta process through all their shit before you can really get to processing your own stuff. So I think like the cleaner your body is, the more likely you are to like have these more spiritual experiences.
Yeah, there's a lot I could say. But I think people like you are definitely like extremely inspiring for anyone, because seeing like, oh my God, this person really does have magical abilities. The universe is a magical place. Even if it might not feel like it to a lot of people, I really believe it's like magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely agree. Anybody can do anything. All these crazy people with crazy abilities, you can do it too. Maybe you weren't naturally brought to it, but you can put the work in and get there, I believe, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, and I definitely I think life is definitely like, I have to call life a movie and a game. It's like a movie
Mm-hmm.
game. That kind of brings in the destiny, but at the same time free will. um and yeah, I definitely feel like I wouldn't say meat is a blocker. Certain people literally they need meat. There's certain people who their body just straight up doesn't digest anything. I remember reading about this girl, and the only thing she could really eat was like certain types of meat and maybe onions, and that was like the only thing she could eat, or she'd get very ill. um but it's interesting because sometimes I'll do it on purpose. Sometimes, like if I'm around my family and I know I can't be my crazy self or I'm gonna get into trouble, I'll bring my vibration down on purpose. I'll drink alcohol, or I'll I'll eat bad foods that are still vegan, but or I'll just do things that I know will bring me down. And I've actually done that a lot throughout my life naturally, just because it must just be, it's obviously very overwhelming and life changing to kind of go through anything that we go through on almost a daily basis. And when you get to these high levels and you're not really ready for it yet, I think a lot of the times I've just naturally brought myself back down to just kind of gradually get to where I want to be instead of just shooting up like a rocket ship all out of nowhere, because that's what I usually try to do. I'll try to incorporate a lot of things into my life at the same time, and it's very overwhelming sometimes. But yeah, something else. I love telling people about this because it really confirms like it's like you hear the stories about people who like they're just a totally normal person, and then all of a sudden, just like that, like one day they just have this crazy awakening, and now like just like you can now you have this now you can see energies and beings out of nowhere, you know. Um, one of my good friends, I'm kind of like the reason he got into spirituality, or I helped him get into it, and I remember at the time it was so funny because like he would be going through these things that people read about, or like it all kind of sounds like that new age woo woo they call it. But I remember he told me like because he started meditating about vegan, and he told me he's like he kept feeling this pressure right where the third like between his eyes, and I was like, dude, that's your third eye opening. Like you can feel opening, and like he didn't even know what the third eye was. Um, and I remember and I've tried to astral project with him. Like we did it together. We've done that like 3 or 4 times, and every single time, even the first time, he got out of his body. And he didn't even know what astral projection was. He didn't even know how to pronounce it. He thought it was astral projection, and it was just so funny because like he's just like a normal person, and he can do all these things and experiences the same things you can go and read about anywhere.
Mhm.
It was a lot of confirmation for me at the time.
Yeah, I feel like, even my ability to see it, my third eye is open. Um, it's like a form of astral projection. Like it really is just tuning into my astral body. Maybe I'm not so good at leaving my body and like exploring around the neighborhood or whatever. But with practice, I'd love to. I haven't put a whole lot of practice into it, but it's definitely a thing. Like I've had um, friends who have told me, hey, like I had this crazy experience last night and I left my body. Like closed my door and then I went to bed. And as soon as I went to bed, I like came outside of my body and like my room was exactly how I just left it. But I noticed the light was still on in the hallway and I should have turned it off. So then I went back into my body and woke up and went out and turned the light off and then went back to bed. Like, because people have it, they don't consider themselves spiritual, but like we all have the ability, like we have a soul, we have a spirit, and it's in our physical body right now, but we have the ability to, as our body rests, to take it anywhere we want. So that's cool that you can do that.
Yeah, which is funny that you said that at first. You said it was like astral projection because when you were explaining like what you do with your clairvoyance, it sounded exactly like things that you would do on an astral projection, like
Yeah.
pretty much. And I definitely think it's like you're tapping into the astral
Mhm.
world, astral realm. Um, and I definitely am a big believer. Like you can try a trick. Like if you astral project before you do it, you get like some playing cards and you flip them over like the face side down, and you never looked at them. You didn't look at them, or wait, did you? I can't remember actually. Wait, oh yeah, so you put them face down, and you don't look at them, and then you go and astral project. And in the astral projection, you go and flip the card over and see that it's a 4. And then you come back to this reality after your astral projection, and you go flip the card over and it's a 4. So you know that it's like, damn, like this is really real.
Mhm.
And I've also heard all kinds of stories of like people like they'll astral project, and then they'll like they're both astral projecting, and they'll meet each other in the astral realm,
Mhm.
come back to this reality, and they'll talk to each other, and they had the same experience together. It's very very interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I could talk about astral projection and lucid dreaming all day. Like anything spirituality, I could talk about all day. But lucid dreaming and astral projection, I could talk about all day. I know all the methods and techniques and all about it, the ins and outs. I know way too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to chat with you again, just about astral projection, lucid dreaming techniques and stuff. I'm really fascinated by it, but I just had to get back to work pretty soon here, so I just don't really have time right now. But I'd love to. If you're open, we could do another chat.
Oh yeah, anytime. You could message me anytime or call me anytime, anytime about anything for sure. For sure.
Anything
Yeah.
else you wanted to share before we close?
I was gonna say something just now. I forgot it. Uh, that's something nothing really annoys me too much, but forgetting things is like my ultimate
Mm-hmm.
annoying. I can't stand forgetting things. But yeah, no. I don't know if you have to go. That's totally fine. But I know you said you wanted to ask some questions.
Yeah, what was I going to ask you? Well, I want you to share, like, if you can text me afterwards all those books that you really
Oh,
recommend so that I could link it. And then your YouTube channel, it's called Infinite Awareness. Is that what your YouTube channel is called?
yeah,
Okay. And then your Instagram is also Infinite Awareness, right?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, other than that, no, I don't have any other questions.
I just hate forgetting things, but it's fine. It's like when you have conversations like these, it's like you could give a million different replies to each
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's never ending. But
Mm.
it's been really great. I really enjoyed learning your story. It's so relatable, and so interesting. And I'll check out your beats that you make. What software do you use to make them?
Well, first, I remember what I was gonna say. The ultimate, there's all kinds of techniques for lucid dreaming and astral projection, but there's nothing better than just writing down your dreams. Every time you wake up, or even just in the morning, if you write down your dreams, not only does it help you remember them, but you can learn from them. But if you just do that alone, within 1 or 2 weeks, you'll just start having spontaneous lucid dreams without even trying to. It's really good. But yeah, I could definitely tell you. I haven't really shared it publicly yet because I feel like I really make them in a special way. I'll definitely message it to you, but I don't know if I'd want everyone to know how I make them. I don't know. I feel weird.
Yeah, you can tell me. I won't tell anybody.
I just feel weird not telling people, but it's like something I'm still deciding on. Like I'll definitely tell you personally,
Okay.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd love to know.
Yeah.
Super fascinating.
Yeah, but it's not enough to just know the program. You also have to know like how to make them and what frequencies to use. But I could definitely do stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well,
Yeah. But yeah, I had a really good time talking to you. Anytime, I mean it, anytime, just ask me anything.
yeah, I really appreciate you just opening up to me and not even, knowing who I am or anything. So I really appreciate it. You're really cool. And it's been great learning from you.
Thanks. Yeah, you're really cool too.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll chat later then.
Okay. Yeah, I can't wait. Have a nice life.
You too. Bye.